What's up, guys, and welcome back to Week of Entertainment. So, as we all know, Colonel Mangena took Mtobi's firearm, then did some ballistic tests on it. After that, he then confirmed and said this firearm, it matches the bullet that was found at the Kumalo house. But now the defense has come with their own expert. This expert has come with a bullet from a completely different firearm, and it's matching the bullet that was found at the Kumalo house.
There are 3 tests that the colonel did, which is 3 to 10. But on the right, it's not any of the 3 to 10. That's a random bullet. Fired from another firearm, not even the test firearm.
A different firearm?
Yes. So the purpose was to show the reproducibility of this, to show that the so-called match can be produced by a different firearm. And that exercise was performed in the presence of the
Yes, let's
colonel.
hear your answer.
No, my lord, when you look at it, it's only where at the base where it started. But the minute you start moving it towards the front, there's a complete different markings on those ones. So where they start, they can match. It's not that it's only this one. You can do it with many other bullets, where you can force it to match where you started. But the minute you start moving it towards the center, you see a complete different.
Wait, we'll come to that. I thought you said to me, and I have read literature, which says no 2 firearms can replicate themselves. They are unique.
That's correct, man.
Now you and the experts of the defense, you go and conduct another test using a different firearm from the one which is alleged to have committed an offense. Is that what you are telling me?
What he did, when he was comparing it, he just brought another bullet, said, let me compare it with it.
And where did the other gun come from?
That's the firearm that he had.
So he brought a firearm and brought other bullets?
No.
It's one of the bullets that he fired from one of his firearms. I don't know which
Yeah, fine. Now, just want to understand. So that I can see that a fish is called a fish.
So what is happening here at the Senzo meyiwa trial is that the defense is arguing that a different firearm is also matching the bullet that was found at the Kumalo house, and it's not just Mtobi's firearm that is matching, because what should be happening is that the firearm that released the bullet that was found at the Kumalo house, it should be unique and no any other firearm should match that bullet. But the defense, is presenting a case to say, hey, this expert of ours, he picked like a random bullet and it's matching that bullet that was found at the Kumalo house. So does it mean that the owner of the firearm of this random bullet, should he also be arrested because it's a match? So the defense is using this to argue that the similarities Captain Mangena found might not be unique to the alleged firearm and could occur on bullets fired from other guns. So the conclusion is that, by the defense, they contend that Colonel Mangena's conclusion of a positive identification is unreliable. So this is really interesting what is happening at the court. But is it not possible, though, that the defense expert actually picked a bullet that he knew would closely align with this exhibit bullet? So it's actually possible that the expert, intentionally or unintentionally selected a bullet that is going to have a higher likelihood of showing similar characteristics to this exhibit bullet. So when these manufacturers for these firearms, when they make these firearms, they always aim for uniqueness, but there are still shared characteristics, among many of these firearms. So that means that there is always a chance of finding some similar individual markings by random chance or by selecting from a large pool of fired bullets. So the challenge that is there now is that there is lack of transparency from the defense side, without knowing the origin and selection process of that random bullet that they picked. It's a little bit difficult to rule out the possibility of biased selection. And Colonel Mangena obviously argued and said the similarities are at the bottom, but as you go up, there are some differences. But the defense is obviously going to argue and say that for a true match to occur, there has to be like a significant and consistent pattern of consecutively matching lines across the entire bullet, not just a few isolated similarities like what is happening here. So in this entire exercise, what Judge Ratha, is like trying to avoid is that this demonstration by the defense is not going to like unfairly mislead the court. So the defense like has to like clearly explain that this comparison is relevant and what it demonstrates about the similarities, of the bullet that has been fired by this firearm and that firearm, and about the limitations of firearm identification in this specific case. Because the usual thought that we have is that each firearm is like a unique fingerprint. Like all firearms have unique fingerprints. That's like the base argument that is there. But the defense now, they are bringing an argument and saying, no, some firearms actually have similar fingerprints. And that is why Mtobi's firearm actually matched that bullet at the Kumalo house. So the real question that we have to ask now is that, can the defense, really argue along these lines, because this is going against established knowledge. But this is the job of the defense, it's their legal strategy to create doubt in the mind of the judge, by challenging the reliability and uniqueness of ballistic evidence. So here there are some like ethical concerns, that come around this strategy, because you can ask like, is the defense misleading the court? Because the issue here is there any intent to deceive? Because if their aim is to genuinely highlight a potential limitation in the science that is being applied to this case, then there is no problem. But if there is a deliberate attempt to create a false impression, then there is a huge challenge. But overall, however, at least from my view, the defense strategy was very, very effective, in undermining Colonel Mangena's evidence. Because even Judge Ratha actually heard him and was like asking and saying, hey, we know that these things are unique. How come here we're now seeing some matches here? And that is exactly what the defense want, for the judge to start having second thoughts about what he knew earlier. So the defense here might be like sort of like playing mind games, with the judge, yeah. And it's a strategy, There are no like specific rules on what to do and what not to do, because here the defense, I think one of their strategies, is to create confusion. And by creating confusion, what I mean is that it's like raising, numerous points of contention, even if some are weaker than others. Overall, you'll have created a sense of uncertainty in the judge's mind. Yes, some points might be weaker, some others are stronger, but you will have created an environment of confusion over the witness's evidence, because here it's about winning the case for their clients. So the state will have to fight back, and continue providing more and more evidence that might end up crushing the defense. So it's a battle. Definitely it's a battle in court. And the one who selects the winner is the judge. But here the defense, so far, they've sort of like created doubt in the judge's mind. But it's a long way to go. This is a marathon. Tell me what you think in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.